Well, Nelson Mandela Day celebratory initiatives by individuals, groups, societies and organizations are in full swing in many parts of the country. Now let's take you to Qunu in the Eastern Cape. That, of course, is the birthplace of Madiba. President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected there shortly. We did see him earlier unveiling another statue of Nelson Mandela at the museum in the Eastern Cape. That is, of course, named after Madiba. We cross live now to SABC News political editor Mzwandile Mbeje and video journalist Kwazi Manzi for news on what's happened there. Mzwaya, good morning to you. I can just imagine the palpable energy in the air in the Eastern Cape on this Mandela Day.
Absolutely, Naledi. It's a hive of activity here in the Eastern Cape, and not only in Qunu where we are, but across the Eastern Cape. We started in Tata, as you saw yourself, the unveiling of that statue. In fact, as you come to us now, we are expecting the convoy of the president to come this side, which is about 40 kilometers from Umtata to this side. But of course, before that, I know that he will have a few engagements with the local leadership there. So what is happening here is that it will be the second part of unveiling another statue. And you can see it's an lady behind me, and of course it's not unveiled yet. It's the responsibility of the head of state, which is the president, who will do those honors. I think what will be different about this one is that you will see Nelson Mandela in his younger stages, and then of course as more of a traditional man. Remember, as much as the world knows him as this global icon, as this someone who has influenced so many people, the fact of the matter is that he has origins, and then where are those origins? So this statue, when it's unveiled, you will see the origins of the Nelson Mandela that everyone knows. Before, as I've said, he became a famous prisoner, a famous statesman, a president, and then of course one of the most influential individuals. So he came from somewhere, as you've correctly said. So these are the areas where he grew up. And he actually lies about a few kilometers outside of here. It's just that I think there are those tents. If they were not those tents, you are actually going to see his house here in Qunu, and of course that's where he is buried. So those tents that you are seeing there, Naledi, that is where the official function will take place. So here in the Eastern Cape, there were 3 events to mark the Nelson Mandela Day. You'd recall the Nelson Mandela Day was declared by the United Nations in 2009 to recognize the justice and peace that he had pursued. So once the president gets here, obviously he would start at the statue that you have just seen and then unveils it, and he will walk straight to the tent. Already there are a number of people who are in there, so the official program will then begin. So we will hear speeches, and then of course everyone will be extolling the virtues of Mandela. But when all is said and done, so the big question will be, is it just one of the days, and then after today it's the end of it, or this is the start of doing exactly that which Mandela fought for?
Yeah, which is active citizenry, Mzwai. And I think it's interesting that you talked about that statue that is to be unveiled there behind you, really representing him as a traditional man. And I'd love to talk a little bit more about how Madiba is seen in Qunu, because what a lot of South Africans may or may not know is that not only was he obviously our former statesman, but he was of royal lineage in the area of Qunu as well, correct?
Absolutely, and I think that's why what you will see here is laced with the Tembo culture, because that's the nation which he comes from. Of course, the Tembo and the Xhosas are very closely related because of the history and of coexisting. So you will see a man who, before becoming anything that all of us knew, a man who really grew up in the very humble beginnings, grew up in the traditional values of this community. So this is exactly, Naledi, what you're going to see. How it shaped him, because what you become in future is normally informed by your very existence right at the beginning. So it means the beginnings from where he came are the ones that shaped him. In fact, when you read his book, The Long Walk to Freedom, he does indicate when he heard those stories, how people were mistreated, how that started to really touch him. And then he then decided when he grew up that, you know what, so I need to make a difference. And of course, there are so many other people that made an impact on him, because, you know, sometimes it's easy to identify someone at a very young age because of how he or she grows up or how he or she is influenced. And then you can see that this person going forward is likely to make a bigger impact. But I can tell you now, Naledi, whoever, is it Walter Sisulu, whoever identified Nelson Mandela can never have imagined the kind of impact that he was going to have, not in South Africa, but globally.